I hear you niggas talk. Well, let me talk too. You screaming, you killing niggas. Well, I'm killing too. Lyrics pistol. Whatever you wanna call. Females, you think they love you, no, they love you 'cause you ball. Set aside all that fuck shit. I want you to know. I grew up around OG, so I know how it go. Niggas talk.
Once again, thank you for tuning in to the Blacks Real Talk 101, the Gangster Channel. I would just want to take you through some couple stories that I came upon, and these are some incidents that we as blacks in our communities need to really look at. Now, I'm gonna show you guys the video and see what has got my attention. And it is ridiculous to where we're not concerned with each other. To some extent, to know that how much we really need help, and no one else is there to save us, just like the scriptures have said, and I will post it up again. No one is looking to reform us and to restore us. No, not one. And looking at these teenagers, it really broke my heart to look at these babies, because they have no way, no guidance, no fathers in their lives to be able to come to them at a male perspective, being young. And see, when we came up, we had the OGs, you know, they always talked to us or whatever, you know, but we end up doing it anyway because of the living condition. If you're around an area, you know, drug activity going on, you know, money flashing, you're living in that element, most likely you end up going into that, which many of us have found ourselves being in. Yet we went to school, but it didn't always work out, because there are people who started out good and eventually the streets got them because of the money, because of the want, because of the emptiness of not having much, lured them into that kind of activity, being in that element that we all came upon or came up in. Real talk.
The story from there.
Detectives say after burglarizing the home in Fort Pierce, the teens met up at this gas station off US 1, where a witness saw them flashing cash at each other. In the days after, the boys, who are between 14 and 16 years old, allegedly bought cars, expensive jewelry, and handed out thousands of dollars in cash to family members. St. Lucie County Sheriff's detectives say back in April, these 6 teenagers out of Fort Lauderdale took a 1 hour and 45-minute joyride up I-95 from Pompano Beach to Fort Pierce in a stolen car from Delray Beach, all to, quote, get some money. Why they chose this North Hutchinson Island neighborhood is not clear, but detectives say when they got into a home on Marina Drive, they stole a safe with about $200,000 cash inside. They stole the homeowner's Porsche and 2 guns. I went to Jeremiah LaPlace's home in Fort Lauderdale, but no one was home. Detectives say the 15-year-old told them he bought his mother an $80,000 car with cash and paid $25,000 for his brother's 2009 Mercedes. LaPlace's brother did not want to talk to me, but one of the other teens' grandfather did.
Getting in a little trouble.
14-year-old Joshua Sargent is the teen who is accused of stealing the 2 guns from the Fort Pierce home. His friend told detectives he said, quote, one for grandma and one me. Also telling detectives Sargent bought an Audi for his mother.
Do you know that's the car that Joshua bought with stolen money?
I don't know. I don't know nothing about where he get it. I don't have nothing to do with them children or nothing.
With our microphone through his front door, Sergeant's grandfather briefly told me he's tried to give his grandson advice, but doesn't know anything about the Fort Pierce burglary.
I don't know nothing about that. No.
But what do you think about it?
Well, I ain't never stole nothing in my life. I always worked.
The teens are all in jail facing felony charges. We were not able to reach some of their parents.
Last month in Lake County, Illinois, just north of Chicago, 6 teenagers allegedly tried to break into a car. The owner shot and killed one of them, a 14-year-old boy. The story has garnered a lot of press in Illinois, not just because of the tragedy, but because the 5 other teens were all charged with the boy's murder. How could this be? NewsHour Weekend's Megan Thompson takes a look at the little-known legal statute behind the case. A warning, this story contains images some viewers might find disturbing.
On the morning of February 23, 2015, 5 teenagers drove to the end of a quiet street in Millbrook, Alabama, about 10 miles north of Montgomery. The teens, who were armed, broke into an empty house, stealing electronics and money, then went up the block to another empty home. A suspicious neighbor called 911.
Well, I think we got them blocked off right now if you're still there.
2 Millbrook police officers soon arrived. One went in the front, the other along the side. Gunfire broke out. As the second officer ran towards the backyard, one of the teens, 16-year-old Adante Washington, came through a back gate carrying a gun. The officer hit Washington 3 times. He died at the scene. Else shocking. Though none had pulled the trigger, the 4 other teens at the house were all being charged not just with burglary and theft, but with murder. The murder of Adante Washington.
It's crazy.
Do you think the other boys are responsible for Adante's death?
No.
In Alabama, a murder conviction can bring a sentence of up to 99 years. 3 of the teens took plea deals. The 4th, Lakeith Smith, was offered 25 years, but he rejected it and took his case to court. C.J. Robinson is the Chief Deputy District Attorney for Alabama's 19th Circuit.
He didn't pull the trigger. He didn't kill anybody. So how can he possibly be charged with murder?
I think that's a great question. And, to answer that question, you really have to look at Alabama law. When you look at how that law is on the books and how it's applied in Alabama, it goes to the foreseeable factor, all right?
In Alabama, the law says all suspects can be charged with murder if a death occurs during a felony that's clearly dangerous to human life. Another legal standard used is that the death was foreseeable.
Do I think when I break into this house, an officer is going to come running in and we're going to get in a gunfight? Is that foreseeable? Yes.
Robinson also based his decision on the fact that the group was charged in other crimes in Montgomery in the 36 hours before Washington was killed. One defendant pled guilty to murder. Charges of kidnapping and robbery are still pending against Lakeith Smith.
When you're engaging in a series of the most dangerous behavior that's out there, the question for us was, is it foreseeable that someone could die based off these 5 young men's conduct? Our answer was absolutely.
Alabama's law is based on something called the felony murder rule, a centuries-old legal concept. Stephen Drizzen is a clinical professor at Northwestern University's Pritzker School of Law.
So in its purest form, the felony murder rule means that if you commit a felony and during the course of that felony somebody dies, you can be convicted of first-degree murder, the most serious crime on our statute books. Even if you didn't intend to kill the person who died, even if the death was accidental.
42 states have some form of a felony murder rule, and it's interpreted differently in each. In some cases, it's been used to charge accomplices with murder. So, for instance, if 2 people rob a store and one of them kills the clerk, both of them are charged with murder. The idea is everyone involved in a felony should be held accountable for the consequences. But some states interpret felony murder more broadly. In rare cases, if the clerk kills one of the robbers, the other robber is charged with murder. Take the case of Justin Doyle in Illinois. In 2008, Doyle, 15 and unarmed, set out to rob a home with 3 other boys. They thought it was empty. A person staying there shot and killed one teen, Travis Castle. The other 3 were charged with Castle's murder. Faced with a possible 60-year sentence, Doyle, who got a tattoo to memorialize Castle, pled guilty to home invasion and involuntary manslaughter and was likely to get out of prison in 15 years. Manslaughter and was likely to get out of prison in 15 years. Manslaughter and was likely to get out of prison in 15 years. Stephen Drizzen got Doyle's sentence commuted by the Illinois governor.
Most people are offended by the notion that teenagers who want to commit a burglary can be charged with felony murder or first-degree murder. The punishment is just much too harsh for the criminal culpability.
I want to ask you about why this is an appropriate tool to use. If you are out to commit a crime, whatever it may be, you should pay for whatever consequences arise.
The answer to that argument is you punish the burglar with the higher range of sentences for the burglary. You don't punish someone for crimes they neither intended or committed.
Back in Alabama, even though Lakeith Smith was 15 at the time of the shootings, he was tried in adult court. Brontina Smith is Lakeith's mother.
Your son was offered a deal.
He was.
Plea deal. He did not take it.
Did not.
Why not?
That was my son's thing. He was like, I didn't kill anybody. Like, why am I admitting to a murder that I know I didn't commit? The cop killed him.
That cop was cleared of wrongdoing. Lakeith Smith's trial took place in 2018 in rural Elmore County, north of Montgomery. An all-white jury found him guilty of burglary, theft, and murder.
You just don't get it, do you?
And the judge, annoyed at what he claimed was Smith's disrespectful demeanor, sentenced him to 65 years in prison. Sentenced him to 65 years in prison. Sentenced him to 65 years in prison.
What went through your head when you heard 65 years?
It was malice. It's like, if you don't do what they want you to do, I'm gonna show you.
He did commit a crime.
He did. And he should have got the proper time for the crime that he committed, the burglary and the stolen property. So 65 years on a young guy, 15, who didn't kill no one. Didn't kill no one and didn't shoot at no one. Alabama.
So unlike the organic maze runner who don't understand these things, who would like to put down or vilify the black population and doing such activities to show that there is really no love there. Because if there was love there, he will understand and he'll look at these and like, this is what we need to do, because this is crazy to have these young 14, 15-year-olds, especially in certain parts of the states, getting time like that because they have no idea most of the time what the consequences is. And some of us fathers who came from that element, we have sons and we try to talk to them about certain things and do's and don'ts. You know, don't let these kids so and so. And eventually this has been lacked among our children coming up of age. When you look at the graduations, you see mostly the females are in there, which I will point out something that caught my attention, what Dr. Umar Johnson said, and I think the school systems are aware of that because the boys and girls, they learn differently. So when you have the girls in a school where mostly the way that the school system is pretty much run, the females, you know, they tend to get it. Yeah, you may find a lot of them, I ain't gonna say a lot, but a good small percentage of them who, you know, whatever the problem is, they don't succeed. But 9 out of 10, when you go to the graduations, you see mostly the females and the males graduating. So there's a need of something. And yet we worry about other nations of people, and we worry about other groups, but Nobody cares about us. So when you have that love for everybody else and you neglect your own, this is what happens. This is what happens. So there's no love among us because our love has been occupied. The space that shows the love has been occupied with something else. And that something else is the love with everyone else. So looking at these young fellows, it's sad to see that they pulling stunts like that. This is why we have to talk to our children and the moms, since, they leave, it's different scenarios and situations, but all of this science stuff that is his fault, meaning the people who are in control. It's their fault. And I'm going to say this because I know there's some things going on that a lot of you don't know. You're not looking in the gray area of saying it's a possibility that this is probably occurring. And it's just like I told you before, you live in a community. Why is the drugs in our community, not in other people's communities? Like, who put the drugs there? You see, so we look in the gray area and thinking a possibility of these kind of events that puts us in a situation where we may end up going into crime and doing stuff like this, driving from here all the way over there to go in somebody's house. And we need to really, and I have to bring this up because unlike the Maze Runner and the platform that he talks about black people and all these, he goes out and he fishes for these stories, not to try to help solve the problem, but to more feed a prejudice that is in the back of his psyche for him to talk the way he talks. Because you hear no empathy coming from him or any other person who makes such videos degrading or speaking all kind of manner of towards the black population, even in their crimes and so and so and so. There's no empathy being spoken of to show that there's empathy, but a prejudice in the back of their mind, and those who also follow have that same prejudice in their mind too. So instead of going in and understanding the situation that is going on, words will utter out and say, man, we need help. It's just sad. You got to talk to your kids. We got to talk. This stuff, when you show empathy, these type of things will come out of your mouth because you understand the situation and how the person got into that situation, rather than to verbally attack the characters and so about the persons who are doing these crimes that you fail to realize why they're doing it. Because there's a lack of things that helps the children understand what is going on in society. Like if you have your sons, look, you got to be careful because the law is so and so and so. Like the kid who broke into the house with 6 other kids who now facing his death. And one thing about these laws, you don't know when these laws was written. So they will make laws as they go along. And this is why it's important for us to understand that. So when you have this love, you being naive towards the gray area of the possibility that these people are actually doing this. How could the kids be charged for his murder? Well, you go in the law and something they already done typed up, so they done made it a law. So now you got 100 years. And why the kids breaking into other people's houses is crazy. We understand that they're in poverty, they're bored, so and so. Probably not the father in the house, who knows about that element, man. Y'all got to be careful with that because they're giving you time and life for that. You make people think before they go into stuff. So if they do have the choice to do it, then at least you told them. At least that'll be back in their mind before they start doing these things. Like, nah, man, if I get caught, it's a wrap. And people love to snitch on black people. So that's another reason why you guys got to be talking to your children about these things. You can call it hate or whatever you want to, but you need to call it for what it is. For their protection. of not being caught up in the system, which we already are caught up in the system, just a matter of time, but you got to help guide them through it. You got to tell them about these things. You got to tell them about the prejudice of people who write laws to do these things to you. You have to tell them that. It's not going to be so much like some YouTubers will be, well, black people, you know, they so and so and so, and they so and so and so and so and so, and see this generate a prejudice in the back of their mind. But from some of you, you may look at it as being a way of help educating or whatever dynamic form of your intelligence is trying to get people to see. It's more creating and spawning a dislike and a despisement for black people, because your energy, when you come out and you talk about it, that energy comes out in the same way. And just the same thing that happened to that rapper TK. Same thing. You running around like you must don't realize who these people are. We got to come to a realization of the type of people you're dealing with dealing with this law. And you can call it prejudice or whatever, but it's gonna be a survival method for our children, so they don't fall into this category and thinking that so and so. No, they want you to do that. You are a prey to this system. They make laws you never heard of. All of a sudden, yeah, it is in the law. But see, you don't know these laws, so how would you know? You don't know whether they're making it up now. I can say the same thing. I don't know they're making, but you have to make it to be in a gray area to think about the possibilities and knowing that who these people are over you and ruling over you and what they're capable of doing and what they're capable of what they have done and what they're continuing to do. So we always got to keep that in our mind, to just know that there's a possibility. Sad young fellas, they bust a lick. He goes and flash some money and all this other stuff, you know, and gets nailed. So now they might get life in prison at that early age because nobody talked to them about this. You have to talk to your children. These are babies getting locked up by the thousands. And I think they did the numbers of it, and most of like the young, like who pretty much is populating the jail, it's the younger people. So that's a sign that we need help. But like the Bible say, none's gonna come to our help. No, not one. For even restoring us. And it's sad though, but you know, we got to talk to our children, talk to your kids. You got, you know, and most of the dads they like to talk to the female. We need to talk to the sons too, because that's your legacy, that's your seed. The same stuff that you got coming out of you comes out of him too, to make babies. You understand? So you got to try to protect that in that way also, to protect your seed, your bloodline, your lineage in this society, because there's a lot of things going on and a lot of obstacles that's tempting them and all kind of stuff. And I just wanted to share that, you know. It's real talk, holla.